A man slowly rides his horse up a steep hill. His head is covered in a conical turban. His frame is athletic, not a big man, but not a weakling. He has a mustache, smartly curled, and a beard terminates in a sharp point. He has girded a sword to his waist and has a dagger tucked into a sash at his belt. He urges his horse forward and continues up the hill. If we zoom out, we see a quite hilly and rugged landscape. This is the land of Maharashtra in the Deccan Plateau of India, his land. His name is Shivaji, and his fame and glory will be known in distant lands like Portugal and England. His enemies will fear him, and his people will adore him. Let us learn more about him. Shivaji was born on April 6, 1627, in Shivner Fort. His father, Shaji, was a mercenary commander and a landlord for the Nizam Shahi kingdom of Ahmednagar. His mother was Jijabai. Shaji's fortunes had taken a turn for the worst when Shah Jahan, the emperor of the Mughal Empire, invaded and defeated the Nizam Shahis, which forced Shivaji to spend his childhood on the road as a wanderer. When he turned 9 years old, he eventually settled in Pune and shifted to the Lal Mahal in Rajgad. The secluded Maratha countryside and the rough terrain of Deccan had hardened his body in his youth. He spent quite a bit of time riding, wrestling, swimming through floods, as well as practicing swordsmanship and spear throwing. He eventually became skilled in imitating the voices of various animals, learned phrases in many languages, became an accomplished wrestler, and a good shot with a musket. Additionally, he went through further training under his mother, who taught him lessons from the Hindu epics and religious scriptures, where he learned about the traditions and morals of his people, while also filling him with a zeal to right the wrongs of the past and to restore his religion to a position of glory from one of subservience. His guardian, Dadaji Kondadev, instructed him in the intricacies of managing people and land, as well as raising militias and managing agriculture and general governance. This education would be of vital importance in the future. Shivaji began his career as a boisterous youth, which led to his father calling him to the city of Bangalore, and it also brought him to the attention of the court of the Bijapur Sultanate. He spent some time in Bangalore, and around 1643 he left Bangalore equipped with a supply of infantry, cavalry, elephants, as well as ministers and treasure, a gift from his father. When he returned back to Rajgad, he had begun to augment his small army with the detachments gifted to him by his father, as well as new recruits. The economic success of his estate, as well as his personal relationships, enabled him to recruit men. The cause of the Hindu religion was also raised, and he began open rebellion in 1644. His rebellion began by capturing the force of Sinhagad in Torana. By 1644, he had organized his troops and taken possession of the fort of Rohida. Interestingly, Shivaji still outwardly professed loyalty to the Sultan of Bijapur, stating that his violent actions were done solely in the spirit of self-defense of his estate. This, combined with his father Shaji shielding him within the Bijapuri court, and the general fractiousness amongst the Bijapuri nobles in the court, prevented them from taking immediate action against him. By 1648, he had captured the fort of Purandar, and by 1649, he had repulsed a Bijapuri attack where the general Musa Khan was killed and Fateh Khan were routed. By 1652, a kingdom is beginning to emerge, bounded by the Bhima and Nira rivers in the cities of Pune and Shrival, with strong posts of Chakan, Purandar, Supa, and Baramati. These will bring him into conflict with an old and noble rival. His new rival is the Moray household. The Morays were a noble family which claimed descent from the old Mauryan Empire. The Mauryan Empire was one of the first strong states in the Indian subcontinent. The Mauryans had repulsed a Greek invasion led by the Seleucids, and their influence had been felt throughout the Indian subcontinent to some degree or another. The Mauryas were a clan that claimed descent from such an illustrious empire and would not bow to what they considered a low-born upstart. So, Shivaji negotiated with the local chieftains and turned them onto his side, and in 1654 he sent out an army which defeated the Moray army, in which the warlord Hanumantrao Moray was killed, and he took the fort of Javali. In return, Yashwantrao Moray, the new warlord of the Morays, began to cause trouble from the fort of Riari. Riari was situated on a high plateau and was incredibly hard to assault. So Shivaji asked for a meeting with Yashwantrao Moray. In that meeting, Shivaji kills Yashwantrao Moray and takes his son as hostage. The sons are later executed when they were found hatching some plot or another to overthrow Shivaji. After his feud with the Morays end, he engages with a new enemy. This enemy happens to be the giant of the Indian subcontinent itself, the Mughal Empire, which is currently led by a king who is considered as one of the greatest military commanders of his time, and in the coming years will humble the mighty East India Company. Shivaji launches a raid into the Mughal Empire, plundering the cities of Junnar and Ahmednagar. This, of course, is a relatively small raid, but is a sign of future conflict which is to come. At around this time, Shivaji also began to build a navy which will bring him to the attention of the Portuguese, as well as other European powers and empires. And now we will come to one of the greatest occurrences in Shivaji's short and grand life. Songs and poems are still sung about this occurrence, his meeting with Afzal Khan. The Bijapuri Sultanate had finally decided to deal with Shivaji and dispatched Afzal Khan. Afzal Khan was an old associate of Shivaji's father. The two of them had commanded troops together for the Bijapuri Sultanate, but Afzal Khan had a hatred of Shaji and was responsible for the death of Shivaji's older brother. Afzal Khan was also a giant of a man, famed for his skill in wrestling and his propensity for violence, which in a quite violent time is saying a lot. Afzal Khan left Bijapur and began his march, desecrating temples and behaving ruthlessly, wreaking havoc on the commoners in order to draw Shivaji out. In 1659, Shivaji and Afzal Khan are situated right in front of each other. Shivaji is based out of the fort of Pratapgarh, while Afzal Khan is encamped in Wai. Each man is waiting for the other to make a mistake and get drawn out to slaughter him. Shivaji is eventually able to convince Afzal Khan to come and meet him, pretending to be submissive, asking the Khan to save him from a mistake that his youth and rashness had forced himself into. Khan agrees to meet Shivaji at the foot of the fort of Pratapgarh, with a plan to kill Shivaji at the meeting. Shivaji foresaw this plan and makes arrangements. He sets up a pavilion which was extremely lavish, within which the meeting would be conducted, and this was done in order to fool Afzal Khan that he has not guessed his intentions and to lull him into a state of complacency. On November 10th, 1659. Shivaji meets Afzal Khan. Shivaji equips himself with armor under his robes and wears a steel cap under his turban. He hides a short sword within his robe and hides the wagnach or tiger claws within his hand. Afzal Khan has already arrived at the pavilion when Shivaji arrives and rises to embrace Shivaji. Shivaji accepts the embrace. Then Afzal Khan, in the act of embracing Shivaji, grabs a dagger and stabs Shivaji. However, Shivaji's armor protects him. Then Shivaji uses his tiger claws and disembowels Afzal Khan. Shivaji's bodyguards slaughter Afzal Khan's bodyguards, and as Afzal Khan, wounded, tries to escape, he is beheaded. The head of Afzal Khan is exhibited from the top bastion of the fort of Pratapgarh. This serves as a signal for the Maratha army to fall upon the army of Afzal Khan and slaughter them. The next morning, Shivaji attacks the Bijapuri camp at Wai, commanded by Fazl Khan, the son of Afzal Khan. Fazl Khan flees, and the two other sons of Afzal Khan, along with nobles, animals, and loot, was captured by Shivaji. Shivaji, looking out at this success, might have been reflecting about how far he has come from the son of a jobless mercenary to a minor landlord and now a king. He has managed to avenge the death of his brother and keep his kingdom intact. He might have thought that this would be the high watermark of his life, but more surprises and glory lie in store. Join us in our next video where we cover his future exploits. Thank you for listening.